Welcome back to the official podcast home of the Association for Materials Protection and Performance. I'm Ben Dubose, news editor with the AMP publications team. AMP, of course, is the shorthand acronym for the association. And as far as the publications, we've got three distinct brands and outlets. That's Coatings Pro Magazine, Materials Performance Magazine, and Corrosion Journal. All are housed within our publications group. As far as AMP, the big story for us is that we recently wrapped up the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo. Held in late March in Houston, it was a record-setting show with more than 6,300 attendees and over 350 exhibitors, including 72 exhibitors that were brand new and also 13 new sponsors. Houston is home to one of AMP's global headquarters, so we were absolutely thrilled to be able to welcome so many people to our backyard. And then as far as AMP publications, one of the brand new offerings for us at this year's conference was our AMP Media Studio. It was basically a recording studio inside the larger AMP booth at the exhibit hall. And so what we did there, we brought in and interviewed a handful of leaders within both the association as well as the broader industries and markets that we serve. Topics of discussion included highlights of the show, industry trends, feedback from the market, as well as a few random things that are unique to each person's background. So throughout the month of April, what we're doing here on this channel is playing back those one-on-one exclusive interviews that we taped from the show. We may also use some of those quotes in future articles within our print publications or on the websites, so please stay tuned for that. But the first step is publishing the interviews and letting you all take a listen, and so that's what we're doing right now. Let's roll the tape. Ben Dubose, AMP Media, joined at the 26th AMP Annual Conference and Expo by Johnny Sanchez of Primetime Coatings. Johnny, thank you so much for stopping by the AMP studio. How's the show treating you this year in Houston?
It's treating me great. It's so impressive, the size of it, seeing all the professionals here. Pretty much what you see here is what keeps the infrastructure of the world intact. That's the key thing I explain to people.
Yep.
That this show shows you what it takes to keep the entire world functioning. That means railroads, underwater tankers, piping, naval vessels, which is my industry. It's just, look at the industry. It's grown so much. This is awesome.
So one of the clear focal points for AMP in recent years has been maritime. And I think everybody knows you as the non-skid guy. How fulfilling has it been for you to see maritime become more of an emphasis for AMP and for AMP to, I guess, get more in line with areas that are in your wheelhouse?
Oh, it's awesome. I love the fact that AMP is really looking into this. The maritime, think of how important it is for the naval vessels, for our ships to be war ready. Different regions of the world, for instance, we got something happening right now.
Sure.
Plenty of naval aircraft carrier fleets are out there. It's very important to make sure these ships stay afloat. And without paint, they cannot stay afloat for very long. Corrosion is the main thing, and it sits in salt water. It's very impactful. For AMP to notice that, that's a key thing. I'm very, very happy with that.
What stood out to you this week about the schedule, the exhibits? Is there anything that when you look at your week of activities in Houston that you'd most look forward to?
Yesterday I went to the instructors reception. That was awesome, seeing all the instructors there from around the world. I met people from different countries like Chile, Colombia. It was impressive. I didn't know there was that many instructors, but no, I really enjoyed it. They had a great spread too, by the way.
So what's all technologies? What's new in non-skid these days? What are some of the newer technologies? What are some of the challenges and also the opportunities?
Non-skid, it's a very tough industry due to the short recoil windows. I know they've been working on lasers. I've seen tests done. They did 1 square foot removing non-skid by laser, but pretty much water leads the way. Ultra high pressure water jetting at 40,000 PSI to 50,000 PSI. That's still the main technology. They're just creating different ways, robotics, remote control versus manual driving a bug that removes the coating system. But non-skid's a tough industry to try to figure out how to, you have to apply it manually because you got to use a hardcore phenolic roller. So it's a tough industry, but I've seen lasers, the newest thing I've seen.
Every time we talk to you for Coatings Pro, and for anyone that wants to see and read about some of Johnny's past jobs, should search for Johnny Sanchez at coatingspromag.com and get some nice case studies. Any contractor that we talk to will say that they're only as good as their crews, the folks that are actually out there in the field applying it. And to that end, the big focal point this week has been workforce development. AMP's rolling out the Talent Force Initiative. There's all sorts of panel sessions. What's your perspective on what we need to do as an industry to, I guess, make sure that we're getting the labor that we need? What's your perspective on things we can do, what we should do moving forward to make sure that we have the people out there so that these crews can perform as you intend?
The training that AMP gives, I'll be honest, the reason where I'm at today is because SSPC and NACE created, gave me the ability to learn this industry and to move up in this with all the certifications, and now forming AMP. So if it wasn't for me getting those certifications, I would not be where I'm at today. It played a big role in my life, to be quite honest with you. So seeing AMP come together, the training they give, the C13s, the C7s, the codings, inspector courses, all play a role in everybody's life. So as long as you keep training the new workforce, they'll pretty much get the hang of it, the gist of it, learn the industry. And in this industry, everything it's a skill set. You pick a skill set and you run with it. Mine was non-skid. Started when I was 19 years old. I'm 51 now. So, you pick a skill set, you stick with it, you learn it. That's whether it's sandblasting, water blasting, being a certified C14 sprayer. It just, you pick the niche you want and you run with it.
You mentioned NACE and SSPC. We're now 5 years into the merger of those two legacy organizations into AMP. What kind of traction are you seeing in the field in terms of, folks recognizing the new standards under AMP, the fact that these legacy associations are now combined? Just what's your perspective 5 years in on how far we've come and where we still have work to do?
I believe that AMP has definitely stepped up the game, combining the two. That made a lot of things more easier. The renewals, everything, they've done a great job. As far as what I think they need to work on, you know what? Nothing comes to mind. They've been kicking butt, so to speak. I was going to use another word, but hopefully I used the correct word. Yeah, they're doing a great job.
We try and be PG-13 around here.
Yeah, no, I agree. So
what's your outlook for the remainder of this year and moving forward? You mentioned there's certain geopolitical dynamics that should be, that make your line of work even more important. What do you see as far as the near-term future, where the demand is going to be and how Primetime Coatings fits into that?
Aircraft carriers. I just finished 62,000 square feet on the USS Roosevelt. And we're in the middle of the job. We're working a different section, and they go, no, move to the wire box. This is where the jets are caught by the tethers. And they're like, no, we need you to move here. You're on a 72-hour tether. That means we need to get this ship done, and we need to get it out to sea.
Yeah.
And then I guess the Pentagon relaxed that and said, no, continue work. The 24 hours shipped us off our schedule, threw us off 2 days. And then we said, well, we're going to need 2 days. And you know what they told us? No, you got to meet the POP. You got to meet the pop date. So,
yeah.
And that's the period of performance date, means your end date. So that's the one thing about working with the Navy. Sometimes you need extension. No, you don't need it. You don't get the extension. You just work 24 hours a day to get it done. So that's the key thing with the military. It's everything. You got to meet your end date.
I'm guessing you enjoyed the former Blue Angels pilot that delivered the keynote.
Oh, yeah.
Does it reinforce when you bring in these military guys and you have this clear military focus? Does it reinforce to you the importance of your line of work?
Yes, it does. I actually, on the USS Carl Vinson, I did a section of flight deck that won me I was the inaugural Coatings Pro MVP award winner.
That's right.
And the photo in that, when I won that they used, the captain of the USS Carl Vinson was also a Blue Angel pilot. Yeah. So that was kind of cool. So it full circle, full circle. You know what I mean? This industry, full circle.
And these days, when you work on one of those vessels, and then sometimes literally a few months later, you see it out in service, I'm assuming that's pretty rewarding for you.
It is. And as long as what I do, the non-skid, as long as it adheres and it meets the demand of what the military expects, very important to me, because non-skid is a safety feature.
You mentioned the MVP award that you won a few years back, and at this year's show, we're handing out actually later today, the 2026 class of contractor awards winners. You got the scholarship awards, honorary night. How important is it to career development that a show like this, builds those people up, that celebrates them?
I know when I won it, the MVP, I think that was 2017, the inaugural, the first Coatings Pro Award show they had. It was exhilarating. You feel accomplished. You feel like, hey, what I do means something.
Yeah.
It makes people feel that they have achieved something, and what they do isn't taken for granted. That's the key thing. And you know, AMP shows that, and it's very appreciative in the industry.
Yeah. And to tie it back in with the workforce development theme, I'm guessing that it's all the more important moving forward that, you know, when these people are celebrated, when these people feel recognized, they want to stay in the industry, and it also attracts other people to the industry, right?
Yes.
You go out, you do a good job. Potentially that's part of, you know, there's no one size fits all solution, but it's part of potentially alleviating that crisis in future years, right?
Yes. No, that's a great point. It's very true. I mean, to be quite honest with you, man, coatings changed my life. You know, grew up poor kid and born in East LA to be who I am and where I come from. Troubled childhood. Then I got a job when I was 19 years old in the Long Beach Naval Shipyard. And that changed my life doing non-skid. And then it just led me to NACE course, the first NACE course. I'll tell you a quick story. How I found out about NACE was I was working on a submarine doing some preservation in the sail. And then there was an inspection. I see this guy come up in the white overalls, and he takes out all this equipment, a needle, water. What he's doing, a conductivity test. I didn't know what it was back then.
Sure.
This guy looked like a doctor to me. And I walked up to him and I asked him, well, how do you get to do this? What? And he pulled out a NACE level 3 card, showed it to me. And I swear back then, I told my wife this. I tell people, I thought it was like NASA or something. It just NACE. Right. It just looked so professional. And, came to my attention. And, you know, my wife got her first bonus. She worked at Semper Energy, and we paid for that for me to go to a NACE. And
sure,
a very tough course. By Wednesday, I felt like I almost broke, but passed it by 1 point and the RIN, and that led to me level 2, level 3, peer review, so on and so forth. But it changed my life.
Yep.
It changed my family's life. I had a jacket that I wore for years on the waterfront. God, family, and non-skid. 3 things that guide me in life, and it saved my life.
Yep.
So I'm appreciate to everything Cody's brought to my life, because you guys know one thing: Russ never sleeps.
That is true. And flash forward to today, you're a business owner, right?
Yes, I am.
What's your biggest challenge these days when it comes to actually running your business?
Employee retention. You know what?
Besides the obvious compensation.
Yeah. Pay them decent, because it is hard work. Benefits. I give them benefits. I throw 4 parties a year for them. I give out bonuses. I throw a great Christmas party. The Christmas party we just had this year was actually on a boat, a dinner cruise, 4 hours of San Diego Bay. It was beautiful. Yeah, man, just benefits, treat them well. The biggest thing is, when I tell the guys that work for me, man, everybody gets the guy that I hired in at the lowest labor gets treated no different than me as the president. We're all the same. We're all human beings. We all need respect. So for me, retaining employees is treating them with respect, because what they do for a living is very hard and intense.
Yep. Anything else you want to share before we wrap up?
No, thank you, Ben. This is awesome. Thank Miss Jean Borge for this.
Yeah.
And honestly, AMP, you guys are doing a great job. This is awesome. It's awesome to be here.
He's Johnny Sanchez, Primetime Coatings. I'm Ben Dubose, AMP Media. Johnny, thanks so much for the talk.
Thank you.
All right, that will do it for this interview from the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo. But please stay tuned throughout the month of April, because we've got quite a few of these that we're going to be debuting on our AMP and Coatings Pro podcast channels. Our hope is that the information and insights from these conversations will ultimately benefit our readers, association members, and the industry as a whole. And beyond the podcast channels, don't forget to check out our print publications, our social media pages, and our websites for Coatings Pro Magazine, Materials Performance Magazine, and Corrosion Journal. All of those brands are housed within our AMP Publications family, and we'll have lots of great exclusive content from the show coming out in the days and weeks ahead. Just stick with us, and we'll have more to come. Anyway, that will do it for today. On behalf of our entire editorial team, I'm Ben Dubose, news editor for the AMP Publications Group. We appreciate you so much for checking out this interview, and please come back soon for more exclusive coverage of the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo.